Got it.
Okay, it says this meeting is being live streamed, and I said okay.
Yes.
Let me know the second you cue live to.
We should be
Okay,
live.
popped up. Okay, it says this meeting is being live streamed, and I said okay.
Good. Yeah. Oh no, I
Let
hate
me
when
know
it
the
does
second
this
you cue
thing.
live to.
It's
We
oh wait.
should be live.
God darn it. Okay, there we go. See, it does this where it plays it on my computer and stuff too.
I know the echo's so weird.
Well, I had to turn that shit off. So we'll see if anyone comes. I'll announce on here that we went live late because we had technical difficulties. We had testicle difficulties. Testicle difficulties. We are live now. We are live now. See, what happens when we're fucking late like this is that people just get over it, you know? Get over it. Oh, we do have people here. Can you see the people, Amber? Are you able to see the people? For
Give
those
me,
of, pardon?
I'm having a little technical difficulty myself. Give me 1 second, and I will be there.
What are you doing?
I think I'm gonna have to hook up the Wi-Fi. Just give me 1 second so I can monitor the comments.
You're killing me, Amby. Like
Am I
this
still on
stream,
screen?
please. What?
Can you still see me on screen or no?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Then never mind. I don't need my second phone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment the stream. It helps a lot.
We're doing this on Zoom so she could be on here. And I don't know what we're doing. I mean, I don't know all this stuff. So we're going to see how this works because this is kind of fun. Because I thought everyone would want to see me give Amber lots of shit live. I said I wouldn't do that, though.
To make me feel like a Leo for a moment, and that's fair.
How come you don't feel like a Leo all the time?
Because I don't have many people to make me feel like the center of attention but you, Frankie.
Oh my goodness. You're too sweet. You're going to give me diabetes. It's
Of course.
motherfucking like a foot of snow outside, yo. Oh, what's the temperature? What's the temperature? Oh my God, it's -4. What's it there? Anyway, we shouldn't be talking about the fucking weather.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you for coming.
I can't see the chat. Where's
Hi.
so-called chat?
Yes, Rory will be nice. We're always nice.
I'm not. I don't know what
I
you're talking about. I don't see the chat. I can't see the chat. Where is the chat? How do we see the chat? Amber, you're able to see the chat apparently. I can't see the chat. So I don't know what people are saying. And that makes me uncomfortable when I don't know what people are saying because I'm very insecure.
So Mandy G commented and said hello. Rory said be nice. And Rory said, I mean Frankie. Frankie's not that bad.
You say that now. Give it time.
I've given you a year. If you were gonna turn on me, you already would have. You know you're a Gemini. We know these things.
No, I just gotta give you shit. Where's
You
the chat?
still here and I still love you.
Well, we were gonna talk about things. I wonder if I'm able to share my screen here, so we could look at charts at some point. Because I think
Absolutely. I would love to. I know we were going to talk about Saturn tonight, but if we can get a couple like natal charts in and then we can talk about Saturn through the houses, or if not, we can just do like a reflection of Saturn in our own houses too.
we're gonna talk about Saturn, but we're also gonna look at it in the context of people's charts. Because
Daddy Saturn.
let me see if I could share my screen. I need to do a transit chart for now. the? No. What are you doing? Why does everything have to be so complicated?
What's wrong?
It's solar fire.
Solar fire? Yeah, I figured. I knew that's what you were gonna say.
It's just
I got dressed up for everyone tonight, so I hope you appreciate it. Love your favorite Libra rising.
you're adorable, but you look like you're in drag.
Stop saying I'm in drag. I should put you in drag.
No, me being in drag would be dressing like a dude.
That's so true.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. I'll share this part. So people should be able to see that chart.
Is this the chart of the moment?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So what we wanted to do, I can't see the fucking chat, yo. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Like someone needs to be my eyes and ears. Are you able to see the chat, Ambi?
I am, but if you want to have Rory hop on just to double check me, that would be great.
I just spilled grape juice on my good juicy jammies.
See it as long as I go back and forth between Zoom and YouTube. So Venus said, how can I get a reading, Amber? So basically all I need you to do is drop your birth info, so which is your time of birth, your date of birth, the city you were born in, and that's all I need.
Date, time, city.
Date, time,
Date,
city, and in that
time,
order.
date, time, city.
Date, time, city. I will scream at you forever. Date, time, city. Date, time, city, because she will kill me.
Because I'm neurodivergent. I can't keep track of things. I'm not good with stuff and things. So that I need simple and clear and consistent. I'm a very hard person to get along with, Amber. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, but she's the same way I am. I need consistency all across the board. I love you guys. I just need consistency all across the board.
You don't yell at your audience, only I get to do that.
I'll yell at him too.
I'm kidding. Anyway, we were going to talk about Saturn, though.
Yeah, let's talk about Saturn a little bit. Is there any cliff notes you want to dive into specifically, or do you just want to talk about Saturn and Pisces, or?
Well, you had suggested that we talk about Saturn through the houses. And I know that we're going to do that in a different video. But it might be better just to talk about Saturn and Pisces, actually. Because that's the big thing of the moment. It's our backdrop. It's sort of the background of all of our lives right now, isn't it?
It's the most current event.
And you know what? What's really scary to me is that Saturn was in Pisces in 1934 and 1935. And that was the year the Nazis passed the Nuremberg laws, you see. And of course, those took away the civil rights of Jewish people. But before they even did that was the first Nazi book burning, which was of trans medical research, right? There was a doctor in Weimar, Germany, who worked with trans people and the queer community in Germany. Had one of the most vibrant queer and trans scenes ever in history until the United States now. So it's just interesting we see history repeating itself. And one thing about Saturn and Pisces is that it's often accompanied by big rising fanatic movements, you see. Like in the first of all, we had the Nazis in the 1930s. In the 1960s, it had to do with the backlash to the civil rights movement, you see. Because during the 1960s, right, when Saturn was in Pisces, we had this awful racist backlash and Jim Crow, but we also had Martin Luther King Jr. We had the March on Selma, right? All this sort of stuff. It's amazing the consistency we see with history and the quality, rather, of historical events that correlate with Saturn and Pisces. And then we get to the 1990s. And Saturn was in Pisces when Timothy McVeigh, right, bombed the Oklahoma City, right, federal building. And that was a whole white supremacy thing. That was motivated by, he was all into this thing called the Turner Diaries about having a race war and all that sort of thing. So, and now look at where we are now, right? We've got all kinds of hate. I mean, I'm enemy number one, apparently. Not me personally, but my kind.
So what were you doing in 1996, the last time Saturn was in Pisces?
Well, my dad was in Desert Storm. Wait, oh wait, no, 1995. In 95, I was listening to Smashing Pumpkins. I was what, 12 years old? In 95?
95, 96.
95, 96. So Saturn was in my second house. That's when my parents got divorced. And money was tight. And Saturn was in my second house, you know?
Do you remember the last time Saturn was in Scorpio by chance?
Saturn was in Scorpio when my daughter was born.
So
So
2011,
2013.
2013? That's interesting. Because around 2013, my mom had started a. I was still growing up. I was born in 1999, just in case y'all.
99. I
99, I'm so young. Yes, I know. But last time Saturn was in Scorpio, my mom had a change of jobs, and then we wind up, gaining a little bit more money. But that's when Saturn was conjoined to my Mars
in your second house?
in my second house.
Wait, so there were positive financial things? What the
Yeah.
fuck? Well, that's good. It gives me hope because I'm having a rough time right now.
Well, even then, like my mom, she's a Scorpio sun. So Saturn was conjoined to her sun and then in her conjoined to her Mercury as well later on. As Saturn went through Scorpio. But
Wow.
no, she winded up changing, different careers and a different job. So
Saturn in Scorpio was when we started really having the Syria war and all that sort of stuff, when it really took
hi,
off.
Miss Veal. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
We also really appreciate super chats and super thanks.
Yes,
and
donations
little
are,
donations.
but they are appreciated.
Because, this capitalism thing.
Does anybody in the chat have any questions about Saturn or how it could relate to them?
Well, tell me when people ask, and then we should start looking at charts and talking
Well,
about Saturn.
I already wrote one down, so whenever you're ready, you let me know.
Okay. I mean, you can see the screen, no?
Yes, I can see the screen and I can see the comments.
I just turned it off for now because we're not even looking at the fucking chart.
Okay.
But really quickly, I do want to say a couple more things about Saturn and Pisces, where it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, that was very gross. I'm so sorry. That was really terrible. I didn't mean for that to happen. But Saturn and Pisces. So like I was saying in the 90s, right? We saw this repetition of fanaticism, and here we are. And I hate to be political, although I am very political. But we have a whole cross-section of people who live in an alternate reality, which is pretty fanatical. And so that's why around here, Saturn, girl, is all about reality. Now, Saturn's going to go into Aries next. First, Saturn's going to conjoin Neptune.
Yay, Saturn in my 7th house, but oof, I don't know what's going to bring Saturn conjoined to Neptune. You want to spill the beans?
Well, I'm a little worried about it. But see, Saturn is reality and Neptune is fantasy. When you have these two things confront each other, you have what?
A nasty event happening.
Well, no, you have a rude awakening. You have a hangover.
Something nasty about to.
Yeah, it's like a big hangover. Neptune's also intoxication. Right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
So you think about these two things together, and it's now the theme of Saturn and Pisces anyway is how did I put it before? It was really good. It was, the first thing that comes to mind. Oh, it's facing hard truths. That's the way I put it. Facing hard truths. I almost said coming to terms with things. That sounds too touchy-feely. right? But facing hard truths. And you know that Alcoholics Anonymous was started while Saturn was in Pisces.
Really? That's interesting. I mean,
And
it makes sense though, seeing as, Pisces, Jupiter, alcohol, drugs, sort of thing. But that makes sense though.
the party sign,
The party side.
I mean, anywhere Jupiter rules is going to be, a little Dionysian. Dionysus?
We
Anyway,
love Jupiter though. We love Jupiter, but Saturn is our focus.
well, it's just interesting. It's a Jupiter ruled sign. So you think about the Lord of facing things, right? In a Jupiter ruled sign. So it's like the party's over, homie. The party's
There's no more
fucking-
fun here. No
so
more fun.
well, we can look at a chart and talk about Saturn stuff. But what I
Okay.
want to preface this with is wherever Saturn is in your chart, to me, and this is the way I approach it in my practice, and there's the way to do it in the ancient tradition, and there's the way to do it in a more modern psychological tradition. And I like to combine the two. And so Saturn, on the one hand, represents to me the primary psychological issues that you're facing in life, And if you take that sort of perspective that we reincarnate or whatever, then you would think, oh gosh, this is the psychology that I'm bringing in from the past, right? And so people call it karma, right? That's also misleading because the Buddha defined karma as volition itself. So everything is fucking karmic from that perspective. And so I'm sort of remiss to classify anything in particular in the chart as karmic, you see. So anyway, but then I do use Chiron a little bit. We talked about Chiron last time. And Chiron,
Sin for you, but I use Chiron a lot. So
yeah. And to me, I treat Chiron as sort of like the field of experience where the Saturnian psychological stuff takes place. But then there's the very practical ancient perspective too, right? Where Saturn literally represents delays, right? Oppositions, enemies, and well, Mars is enemies, but you see, he's the enemy in general. In the Thema Mundi, he was placed opposite the sun and the moon, right? When we look at ancient philosophies like the Egyptian religion, the idea was that Ra, the sun god, right, every time he would set, would go into an eternal struggle while it was nighttime with Apep, the serpent of primordial chaos, who was Saturn, right? He was the enemy of the sun. And then as the sun defeated him, as he does every fucking day, then he would rise again, you see? And Saturn is even represented as a snake sometimes, or as a man holding a snake in Greek iconography. I know that everyone thinks as Ophiuchus as the trouser snake handler, right? That stupid constellation. But Saturn was depicted, right, with the serpent thing, just like in Egyptian iconography, you see. So it's very important to remember that. So Saturn significations.
hi Tim, thank you for coming.
Who is it, Tim? Hi, Tim.
Yeah, here. Hi Tim, thank you. So
We
nice to
love
see you.
Tim.
I don't mean to cut you off, but let me cut you off for a second.
You're derailing
So
my.
Saturn, I know Saturn to me is and I wanted to like go on with a little bit with what you're saying. So to me, Saturn is all about time. So when I think about Saturn, it's about time. So things over time. I have Saturn in my eighth house. So a lot of those themes of like using other people's resources, those can be a gain over time. But Saturn is just as much as about punishment as it is about reward, because you have to go through the hard stuff to obtain the reward. But this is all going to be dependent on like if you're like me and like you have Saturn, your Saturn ruler in the fourth house. I'm not 28 yet and all of my grandparents are dead, and that's just kind of That's just kind of a manifestation of Saturn in the eighth house, with the ruler of Saturn being in the fourth.
Wait, your fourth house is what again, my darling?
Capricorn.
There you go. Oftentimes, we'll see a planet in the eighth house or vice versa. And please don't take this as like something to freak out about. Or the eighth house ruler being in another house as emblematic of a big death in your life, right? And so I have my eighth house ruler, Mercury, in the fourth house. And my dad, right, took his own life when I was 20, right? And you had lots of death in your family too. And you have the eighth house ruler. Oh, wait, you have the fourth house ruler in the eighth house. So the crisscross of what I have. But I see those two things both correlate with that sort of experience, you see.
And another thing too, a lot of my family was in the military, just like your father. So it's very interesting how, even though the planets are reversed and the rulership is reversed, still the same similar kind of experience.
Well, and the military is a very Saturnian sort of organization as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Between the government and the military, Capricorn is most definitely the ruler of that.
But ancient, right? In the ancient perspective.
But I also look at Saturn. I also look
at Saturn. Oh my God, you always fucking interrupt me. Like that. I'm like, so, but it's like, damn. Anyway, Saturn has ancient significations. It ruled outcasts. It was the furthest visible object. It ruled homosexuals, right? And queer people like me, because he was the furthest visible object. He was removed. He ruled isolation. He ruled prisons, right? We see 12th house significations imported from Saturn. Why? Because Saturn rejoices in the 12th house. Yeah. So, and Saturn also ruled melancholy, sadness, black clad goths, right? Saturn's the original fucking goth.
Depression.
Anyway, yeah, I know you're itching to say something. Sorry, what's up?
I was going to say depression. I was just going along with the joke.
Well, I just wanted to take a bite of food.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just saying, though, like Saturn, 12th house, like, it's all about darkness and like the Gothic vibe and things like that. And like, my chart ruler is in my 12th house. So, if you see me wearing black, you know why.
Well, let's pull up someone's chart. Like, are people still watching? I can't see shit.
Yeah, no. I have two birth charts written down, but I think you already have Tim somewhere, but I wanted to start with Venus.
With who?
So, with Venus. Her name's Venus, but I don't know her real name. So
I thought you said a naughty word at first.
No. Oh, she donated. Thank you, Venus. That's so nice of you. I appreciate that. So thank you. We love you so much. So I have Venus's natal chart right here. Are you still in the chat? Just want to make sure to confirm that you're still here.
Who, me?
No, Venus. Of course you're still here. I have her natal chart stuff, though, if you're ready to take it now.
Yes.
Okay, so her birthday, she's a Leo like me.
Hooray!
Her birthday part, yay! So her birthday is August 9th, 1989. Her time of birth is 10:16 a.m. and her city of birth is Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore. It makes me think of John Waters. I was a big John Waters fan growing up.
I'm glad that you're here. Thank you again for the donation. It means a lot. It helps us keep this going. So thank you.
Thank you. Baltimore always reminds me of John Waters is a famous queer director who did a lot of really nasty movies. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. Let's...
If I can't see it on the Zoom, I'll just open up the YouTube chat again and then look at the chart.
Okay, well, I should be able to just share this one page.
Okay, I see it.
Do you see it?
Yes, I do.
Do you see?
I see it.
So, homegirl, let's make sure this is correct. We have August 9th, 1989, 10:16 a.m., Baltimore, famous for crab cakes.
Yes,
Maryland.
she confirms she is here. Perfect.
Oh, she's also a Libra rising like you, sweetheart.
Yes, yes. Our ascendants are only 4 degrees apart.
Yeah, look at that. Well, my Mars is trying her ascendant.
I
So,
love it. I
my
love it.
Mars and Sun. Ooh, look at
Oh my gosh,
everything
she's
I
a
fucking
12th house
see.
Venus. Like, oh,
See,
honey, I just want to give you a hug.
she should have been here last time because
Should have
Pluto.
last time.
We had like 5 Pluto. I have Pluto conjunct the moon too. I have a couple phrases I use for this. Do you remember what my phrases are, Ember, for Pluto moon? I'll tell you.
No,
It's
tell me
the bipolar coaster.
a bipolar coaster or trying to
Mama.
find your purpose
No,
within
no, no,
a
you're fucking interrupting me again. I have 2 phrases for this. It's the bipolar coaster or mama trauma.
oh mama trauma. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Me.
what it is. So Pluto moon specifically will often see abusive or domineering, doesn't always have to be super abusive, but domineering mothers, and we'll also see people with very volatile emotions. People with
Look
high
at that
highs and
Virgo
low lows.
stellium.
What's that, sweetheart?
I said, look at that Virgo stellium in the 12th house. Let's talk about it.
Well, I wouldn't consider it a stellium
Why not?
because a stellium is 3 planets conjunct in the same sign.
Oh, okay. Never mind. You're absolutely right. My fault.
But some people might. Some people have looser definitions of stellium, stelliums, or
They're
stellia.
residing in the same house, so to me, I would consider it a stellium.
Yeah, not me.
Okay, that's fair.
You're nicer than I am.
But anyways, you're a 12th house Venus like me. So how's your love life been lately? Probably not too hot. She said, Venus said I was too late the last time. Well, no worries. We're here to take care of you now.
Why do you mention love life? What made you think of that?
No, because we're both 12th house Venuses. And like I'm a Libra rising, so all of the current transits that are going in are all being experienced by all Libra risings. So I just want to take a temperature of all the Libra risings just to see if we're all okay.
Well, and you both have, I mean, yeah, duh, 12th
And
house
we're both Venus 12th housers, obviously. So
and in Virgo,
and in Virgo too, on top of that.
or Venus isn't happy.
It's
And
just like a double whammy. And I'm so sorry, honey. I just want to give you a hug. I love you. And I'm sorry that it's difficult.
one, we got to talk about Saturn here. It's just the first thing was Pluto moon jumped out at me.
Okay. Let me pull up this chart again. I just wanted to check the YouTube comments.
Pardon? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, look at comments, and I'll keep talking about the chart for a second.
Okay, so Saturn's in the 4th house. So here we go.
When I see Saturn in the 4th house, like
In
I
ruler,
said, pardon?
in rulership, in
In
Capricorn.
rulership, so Saturn is happy, but he's still not going to give you a great experience. And he's also what? He's retrograde. So people with Saturn retrograde, like both of us, right?
Yes.
We tend to not fit in boxes. We tend to be a little weird. We tend to be out there. We tend to be not be accepted. We tend to push boundaries, push the envelope. A couple people come to mind with Saturn retrograde. Eleanor Roosevelt was one. She definitely, right? She penned the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She was pushing the envelope of what was understood about world affairs. And then Vladimir Lenin, right? Who basically who precipitated the Russian Revolution, right? And was a big representative of, the growing communist movement. Someone who pushed the envelope beyond what it was, you see. So that's already something. We tend to be weird, but we also pretty much suck at our own boundaries, don't we?
Absolutely.
And what I always say about boundaries is boundaries just, that means what you're willing to tolerate. And so I say everyone with Saturn retrograde, and really everyone in general, should be thinking about what they're willing to tolerate from others. And those are your boundaries, especially with dating and romantic partners. At least that's what I'm most concerned about.
Well, even me as a Venus in the 12th house, I'm the kind of person who lacks boundaries. And I don't know if, Venus can agree, but, we're kind of very passive about things, even though we kind of want things a specific way and we'll nitpick our way towards it. We often have a loss in love because people think often we want too much, although we just want something that will give us stability and make us happy. And she has Pluto and the moon in the second house.
Mm-hmm.
So even more like somebody who's stable and can bring that sense of comfort and security and can match those values and those morals are more important to her, especially with the moon being there.
When I see Pluto in the second house, you know what I think of? I think of Ebenezer Scrooge. I think of a dragon hoarding her gold. I think of people who are very uncomfortable sharing. That's what I
Yes.
think of. And the moon is very unhappy in Scorpio. And what does the moon rule, Amber? Which house would that be?
Cancer.
Yeah, which house is that?
I drank a little bit too much tequila. You're gonna have to talk me through this.
We have the 10th house here.
Oh
Right?
yeah, the 10th house ruler. Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about from Aries rising
In
in
the
general.
second house.
Yes.
And
So
that's usually if you have the 10th house ruler in an unhappy sign, that
yeah.
can lead to disgraces or, getting a bad reputation here and there, right? Or difficulties in the career. Now, there could be big upheavals and ups and downs with money. But if you want to know about money, you look at what? You look at the ruler of Scorpio, which is Mars, who also rules the 7th house of relationships in the 12th.
But it's located in the 12th house.
And when I see the 7th house ruler in the 12th house, you know what I think?
Lots of loss.
I think of people who look for fixer-uppers. I think of people who go for sometimes people who have addiction issues or are mentally ill or who are unstable in some way. Because we have this thought like, oh, I can fix them. I can fix them. It's okay.
I
Or
swear I them. But listen, Venus, you cannot fix anybody. I'm telling you now, take it from me. Me and you are two in the same position. Don't try to fix anybody. If you need to fix anybody, fix yourself.
oh, but we forgot to mention Saturn in the 4th house. We often see absent or abusive fathers with Saturn in the
Yep.
4th house. It doesn't always have to be that way, but that's typically what we see. Now, Saturn's very happy in Capricorn, so it may not have been that bad, right?
But considering that Saturn is ruling the 4th and the 5th house and the North nodes.
In the 5th house, just like I have. When people have North Node in the 5th house, children are a big part of our lives, oftentimes. Doesn't have to be. But I just knew I was going to be a parent from a young age. But more important, well, not more importantly, because children are most important. But important to me is what?
Is
Sex. Yeah, and that's the 5th house, you see. So as we get older, especially after our second nodal return around age 38, we start to get more sexual. We start to be more interested in fun and pleasure and in our own stuff because we had the South Node in the 11th house, which made us quite idealistic as children. And we felt like we had to do things to make a difference. Or I joined tons of political groups and religious, or not religious, but spiritual groups growing up. I was very idealistic. I used to organize too, for immigrants' rights and all kinds of stuff. And then, since age 38 or so, I've been more interested in pleasure for myself. And I don't really feel bad about it. And neither should you, because you probably had a very difficult childhood. I mean, I imagine you did. Maybe I'm just projecting. But when you have a whole bunch of shit in the 12th house, and we got Pluto moon, we got Saturn in the 4th house, it's like, you poor baby, give me a hug. Just give me a hug. I'm sorry, darling. Now, and
Okay.
you were born with Saturn conjunct Neptune, so that's sort of interesting too. You're at that sort of, that's an interesting thing. Because
So real quick,
that's when
so
the
real,
Berlin Wall fell. What were you gonna say, my dear?
I was gonna say, the Lady Divine commented it. Saturn is transiting my ninth house. Any advice?
Yeah, be open to new things. What you believe or what you think you know is going to be deconstructed over the next. We got another couple years.
Like 2.5 years.
Not no, not 2.5. About because we've
Two
already about 2 years.
then.
The beginning of 2026, I think. I'm not gonna look at it right now, but I'm pretty sure Saturn goes into Aries around the beginning of 2026. But what was I just saying? Jesus Christ. You don't remember what I was saying either, because you weren't even listening, were you?
No, I was reading the YouTube comments and responding.
Anyway, Saturn going through the ninth house, we have a deconstruct. And I remember this when I went through it because I grew up in a very conservative household, you see. And I grew up with all the see, yeah, that's why I make fun of conservative politics and conspiracy nonsense because I grew up in that. I grew up with all the conspiracy nonsense, you see. I mean, the Kennedy assassination is something that's still very interesting to me because it's an obvious one, but Alan Dulles did it. But all the other nonsense. So anyway, the point of that is that we go through a deconstruction of what we believe, our worldview, our politics, our spirituality. And all of that is where it's sort of shown a bit of reality, because that's what Saturn does. And Saturn's like, yo, you're sort of living in a fantasy world a little bit. So you have some of what you think and what you believe shattered. And then it gets very uncomfortable because it's sort of like, well, what now? And we often, especially towards the last 10 degrees, we start to see light at the end of the tunnel, you see? And we get presented oftentimes with new ways of looking at things. You start to get hungry and thirsty for meaning again, you see? Now, I have natal Saturn in the ninth house too. So that makes me a big skeptical bitch, right? Everyone's wrong. And before you're right, you have to be wrong, you know? And it's not even about being right anyway. We're always wrong. It's just about degrees. We're always approaching truth. And so the big thing for Saturn transiting the ninth house is to be open to what is rather than getting stuck in rigid and crystallized patterns of thought or belief or values, because you're being challenged to see things in a new way. I hope that makes sense because that's what it's all about, right? I completely changed my worldview when this was happening to me, you see. So, like I said, be open to new ways of looking at things. That's how I would face this. And it will be uncomfortable if you don't. I mean, that's what you're admonished to do if you're willing to do it, you know. Otherwise, you're just going to be dragged kicking and screaming. So anyway, does anyone else have a question about that?
Now I was just responding to a comment, but if you are ready to move on to the next natal chart, I have it ready for you.
Let's do it. I'm going to
So
stop sharing so people don't
have
see. What?
do you have Cahill stuff?
I think I do have Timothy.
Tim
Timothy. Did anyone see Key and Peele? Like where it's like D nice? No, it's Denise, and the guy freaks out.
No, it's Dina.
Bilaki? No, it's Blake. And then it's Timothy. So where's Timothy?
And Venus, I hope that really helped you. If you need any more insights, don't hesitate to message me or Frankie. We would love to have you as a client.
Yes, exactly. And Amber is my protege. I mean, she's my friend and my helper, but
And protege as
she's my
well.
protege.
Whatever title you want to call it.
And the
Okay,
only reason
hey, Tim,
I'm
thank you for coming.
thank you. I'm looking for Tim's shit. But the only reason she's my protege is because she kept pestering me. And I was finally like, okay, fine.
Don't be lying to these people. We smoked a bowl and then talked on FaceTime about my, toxic ex-boyfriend. Don't be lying to these people.
Why are you telling them all that?
We did illegal things, so shh.
It's not illegal where I live.
Well, it's illegal where I live.
Yeah, I love the state of Colorado. I'm just saying, I don't see Tim shit. Can you read me his stuff? Because I don't
Yes.
see it.
Okay, well, let me give him. Hey, Tim, can you comment your birth stuff down below just so I can get it in the comments?
I swear I had it last time. I don't know why it's up. It isn't up. I never eat pasta ever because it makes me feel fat and bloated. But
Ugh, God, here we go.
my daughter didn't finish her pasta, so I feel like I need to like not waste food. Because my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, there's kids starving in Alabama.
You just remind me of the Kardashians. There's children that are starving in the world, Courtney. Okay, I have Tim's stuff now.
Okay, what's up?
So it's March 6th, another Pisces.
That's my ex-wife's birthday. Jesus Christ.
March 6th, 1995. Hey, Tim might be going through a Saturn return. Chicago, Illinois, 11:04 p.m.
1995. See, Tim was born while Saturn was in Pisces. What was the time again? Because I wasn't listening to you.
11:04 p.m.
Yeah. And it was Chicago.
Saturn return.
Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652. No one remembers that unless they're my age. If you're an elder millennial, then you probably
Go
remember.
have fun and do something like go out and get a drink or something.
What do you do? What?
No, I said if I ever went out to Chicago, maybe we could like me and Tim can go out and get a drink and discuss astrology or something.
Tim said he was going to visit me in Colorado.
Well, if I get to her first, she's mine. So I hate to...
I know, but Tim's a sweetheart.
Yes, we love Tim.
Let me pull up his wonderful chart.
Absolutely.
It's fucking Scorpio rising. Jesus Christ.
See, that's where I'm home at is with the Scorpio risings. All the water risings, my water Mars just wants to eat you up. All of you.
Well,
yay, Tim.
So the interesting thing, I mean, the first thing I think about, and I didn't mention this in the last chart, but eclipses.
Oh, yeah.
So 2022, the eclipses were oscillating between Tim's first and seventh house. And so in my practice, I do this whole thing that I call the eclipse cycle. And I relate it psychologically to what I call, a conscious emergence, or rather a maturation in consciousness. We change. And that's an easy way, I guess a better way to say it. We change as people. And we go through phases in our lives that to me are indicated by the houses in our charts, in which the eclipses, especially I paid more attention to the solar eclipses, but the lunar ones are very important, of course, too. But I especially pay attention to the solar eclipses. And so the house is being lit up like that represent a phase of our lives. So for 2022, to me, Tim was going through what? An existential crisis, probably precipitated by relationships, right? Or the way he related to other people. Tim, I can't see you commenting, so I should talk to you, I guess. Rather than referring to him in third person.
Okay, well, he's here. The last comment he said is flattery will get you far, LMAO.
Oh, well, I already know.
I know too. I would love to flatter you.
Anyway, so Tim had been having a big existential crisis. And then for 2023 and coming into 2024 now, we have the theme of seclusion and integration. Because when we go through these eclipses oscillating between the 6th and 12th house, I call it the cocoon phase. where all of a sudden we're assimilating all these big changes, right, that we've gone through these big events in our lives. Oftentimes it's breakups or separations that that lead us to start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? you know, and then we start facing things about ourselves that we're not necessarily proud of or that are uncomfortable, perhaps. And that's a big theme, right? Now, there will be a lunar eclipse, I think, in September. That happens in Tim's fifth house. And I've got to look at the degree. I can't remember what degree it's going to be. Oh, my neck hurts so much suddenly. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm 40 years old. I'm old. And my body's falling apart. But it works really well in other ways. You know? Where did you go, Amber? Did you disappear?
No, I'm just monitoring the YouTube comments, so my camera goes off when I switch in between apps.
September.
I'm back. Let me go check of the comments again just to make sure.
No, you're good. I'm just looking for the eclipse. The eclipse.
Eclipse.
When I clips you, clips be clips.
We
I
clips
put my
together.
hand on you. No, it's not conjunct, but it's not far either. It's 27 degrees Pisces. Or sorry, 25 degrees Pisces. You know, so it's still within 10 degrees away from his sun. So it's still pretty significant, you know.
I mean, it's still residing within the same house, so I could only imagine that it's gonna hold the same signification.
But to me, hopefully it's an indication that you start to feel some emergence from all that sort of depressing stuff, and you start feeling a little bit of pleasure and excitement and enjoyment. Because, you know, a lunar eclipse is like a supercharged full moon, isn't it? Or at least that's the popular nomenclature. And so we see sort of like the ending of a phase, right? And hopefully the beginning of a new one, because every ending is a beginning and vice versa. But still, we have the theme of the 6th and 12th houses going back and forth, you see? So the eclipse coming up April 8th is going to be in your 6th house. You might see your physical well-being and all that. I mean, you already know a lot of this stuff, my friend. But you're going to you might even see enemies, struggles, competitions with people, very martial type stuff, right? And so we get faced with that part of our lives too. We also do see physical maladies and sickness and things like that. And then when we get to October, right, it's all about the mental health stuff. And if you've had to struggle with any substance issues or whatever, I'm not saying you did or ever do, but that's a theme that comes up, you see. And also, more importantly and more commonly, which I think is more in line with you, is the theme about seclusion and feeling isolated. But like I said, that's also like a cocoon. It's integrating these new feelings and experiences we've had about ourselves. Right, but yeah, you're having this Saturn return and a Saturn in the 5th house. So you didn't really get to have a childhood. You know, that's often what we see. But not having a childhood doesn't make you an adult either. So, you know. And also it makes, I mean, sometimes things difficult when having children, right? When we see it with, you know, AFAB people born, right, assigned female at birth, we do see complications with pregnancy or fertility oftentimes. But again, there's the psychological experience of not having a childhood, right? And then also with people AMAB, born men, we might see some sort of sexual dysfunction or difficulty with sex, and also with having fun in general, like being able to enjoy yourself and let go. But I do see sexual issues with people born male, right, or assigned male at birth. So that's a pretty interesting thing. And it's conjunct your sun, right? I have the sun in the 5th house also, right? Which is sort of interesting because it does have to do with pleasure. And it does have to do with being childlike, rather than Benjamin Button, where you're a little old fucking man when you're, a toddler or whatever. But Saturn conjunct the sun also is capable of a lot of discipline. You see, a lot of discipline. I think of I had a best friend years ago who was a Marine, had a terrible alcohol problem. He would drink and black out and do awful things. And he realized it was causing trouble. And he had Saturn conjunct the sun in Gemini. And he just quit one day and never drank again, ever. I mean, I haven't seen him in a year or 2 years now. No, a year. Um, but still amazing willpower, you see? Or they say George W. Bush. I know we both do not like that man, Tim. But in his biography, or one of the biographies I read rather, he quit drinking just one day, very disciplined. When he recognized it was causing trouble with his ambitions, because he was an ambitious person. I mean, relatively. He wanted to do his own thing. He had no ambitions to really be president. He got pushed into that shit. But you see someone with discipline, you know? Anyway.
So, anyways, do you notice that we have another Pluto in the second house?
Do you see that Saturn, or sorry, do you see that his Venus in Aquarius is pretty close to my ascendant? I mean, no wonder we get along, Tim.
Yeah, his Venus is conjoined to my Neptune. So I'll be Delulu over you.
He is pretty cute. He is pretty cute.
I have never seen pictures of him in real life. So.
Oh, he's cute. He's got long hair. He's got a beard. He looks like Chuck Mangione.
Oh my gosh, we can braid each other's hair.
He looks like Chuck Mangione.
You're so funny.
It was a joke. He doesn't really.
You're so funny though. I don't mean, I'm not like saying it as like me trying to like flame like how he looked, but I think the joke was hilarious personally.
He's gonna yell at me later. Because him and I do talk every once in a while.
Well, if he wants to yell at his favorite Mars and Scorpio, he can.
Dude, Tim, she wants you. I'm pretty
sure.
Look
how fun. His Mars is conjoined to my North Node.
I'm telling you.
Fun. And my Sun.
But
see, my Mars squares your Mars. So I would probably just be very controlling over you.
I'm pretty sure Tim loves all genders too, but I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure he does. Now, what do you think about his Chiron in the 11th house, since you love Chiron so much, girl?
When I see Chiron in the 11th house, what sign is it? It's in Libra. So I think it all relates back to that Saturn in the 5th house, pain around intimacy, pain around relationships. And, considering the fact that Chiron is in the 11th house of, friendship, society, and other people, these wounds could have been gained through, like maybe possibly. Let me paint this crazy scenario. Maybe Tim met a girlfriend through a friend and then wind up getting hurt. Does that make sense? Maybe something like that. But the way I see Chiron in the 11th house, it's like pain surrounding friends or pain surrounding, society or things like that.
Yeah, I agree with that, because what I see most often with Chiron in the 11th house, it's like...
But he also has Moon trine Chiron too. Very tight.
Yeah, that's another thing. But yeah, it's mental health things going on.
Yeah.
When I see Chiron in the 11th house, I think of someone who was the last person picked in dodgeball. Someone who got left out as a kid. Someone who got bullied or picked on. Or, whose peers were almost like enemies or treated them like an exile growing up. Someone who was made fun of in elementary school, or, didn't feel like part of the group. And it usually manifests later in life as someone who just keeps a close-knit, trusted group of friends, right? People who are suspicious in general of others or groups. And Tim and I share a lot of common interests and views. And I think we can see that a little bit, you know.
You know what he commented? Tim commented, it was a boyfriend, so you're not wrong. I knew I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing someone who also has Chiron in the 11th house, but it's not in it's not in a Venus ruled house. It's in a Jupiter ruled house, but
And Tim is adorable. If you see a
he
picture
is.
of him, I know you'd like it. I
He
know.
commented and said, I wish I could have thrown a bowling ball instead at them instead. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a colorful character.
That's fair.
And notice how, where's Tim's North Node, my darling?
Tim's North Node will be in his first house. Not
Okay.
conjoined to his ascendant, but is in his first house.
What
Six
does that
degrees.
mean to you, sweetheart? What does that mean to you?
When I see North Node in the first house and the opposite being in the seventh house, because my sister has this and my ex has this, so I see it as the mission in life is to develop into a more self-reliable, self-functioning personality, as opposed to throwing all of your energy into other people. So maybe comfortably giving to other people is something that's important to you, but the hard part is giving back to yourself. Because
I,
when I've dated people with North Node in the first house, and I've experienced people with North Node in the first house, and a lot of the time, it's not dependent on what sign it's in. This is just from what I've seen. A lot of it is I've seen this a lot of just giving into others as opposed to giving into self. So it's that battle of between self and others.
yeah, I totally can see that. Um, yeah, I agree. The way I would put it too, just to summarize, would be, yo, you got the moon and the South Node in the seventh house. That makes us simps. SIMPS. Right? We tend to look for our value through other people.
People.
And that's something that we do for the first part of our lives, especially. And you have an exalted moon, but being in the seventh house, it gives us the sense of like a need for validation oftentimes, you see, when the moon's in the seventh house.
And it doesn't help that the moon ruler is right there next in the eighth house. So again, it just, it adds on to that looking for self-validation through other people.
Well, you see, but the North Node in the first house then, because the North Node, it means a couple different things in different traditions. In the ancient tradition, the North Node increased things, both the good and the bad, right? In
Absolutely.
Vedic philosophy, it represented what you pursue, right? Sometimes even to your own detriment. But I've also seen the modern interpretation work really well. As much shit as I talk about modern astrology, I see it bear out a lot, which is that's sort of the direction that we start heading in for the second part of our lives. You see, so you had this is what I'm not trying to tell you what reality is. I'm just saying what it looks like. But from where I'm standing, it looks like that you had a lot of seeking your value to other people. And then when you get to be my age, yes, you get to be an old lady. Well, you're an old man, but like me, then you're going to start pursuing what? Being a confident, integrated personality, someone who finds value in themselves, right? And the interesting and sort of the ironic thing I've noticed as I've entered into this stage in my life, and I'm the most confident and comfortable I've ever been, right? Because I'm being myself, right? Is that it comes when you're not worrying about it. And when you don't care about it, when you've sort of relinquished and given up the care, the concern, and that's identification. When we feel like we're at stake, then we're what? We're scared because we can be hurt. Who's going to be hurt? Can't hurt me. I mean, yeah, someone could physically hurt me, but you see, it's different when you're not so identified and you're not looking for your value through other people. if you're finding your value and your sustenance from within, right? And it's not a metaphysical hippie trippy thing. I mean that you're proud of yourself and you're not letting other people's views of you affect how you feel about you. First of all, you're a very intelligent person, right? You have Mercury in Aquarius and in the fourth house, like I do. Mercury in the fourth house is someone who's very interested in history and knows a lot about history in the past and all this sort of stuff. Right? And Mercury rules what, your 11th? We should move on to someone else. I don't want to seem like I'm being.
Oh no, you're fine. I already have the next one ready whenever you are.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just don't want to seem like I'm doing favoritism. It's just that when I get on a roll, when I get on a roll, I get really, I get carried away. And then, I mean, Mercury opposite Mars. There's terrible anxiety. Terrible anxiety, you see, oftentimes. But it also someone who can talk a lot of shit and argue a hell of a lot, right? So, I mean, there's that too, but it's just the anxiety thing you have to be careful of, right? And you have Mars and Mercury also square your ascendant. See, these are things that are difficult for you that make because Scorpio rising is what? It's the spiritual warrior. It's someone who engages themselves in battle, right? Not to hurt yourself or to defeat anything, except for defeating misconceptions about who and what you are, right? Scorpio rising is about rising from the
Through the
ashes
ashes.
of our own personalities, right? Because we've realized that the conditions by which we define ourselves, I'm Tim, right? I believe this and I believe that, and I'm a this and I'm a that, right? That those are all fleeting conditions and they're fucking dead. And when we start to appreciate that those things die, and we can distinguish between the presence, the perceiver, when we distinguish between that and the body, and we notice that the perceiver and the perceived aren't necessarily separate, though. That's rising, right? That's rising from the ashes. But that's just a potential thing, you see. Because ultimately, the war is what? With oneself. With what one thinks one is, and then the reality of the situation. And I don't think that's necessarily guaranteed that anyone understands that, but that's what I think of when I think of Scorpio rising. You see, the esoteric mantra from Alice Bailey, who I've got issues with in a way, but the esoteric mantra, which I think is completely correct, is warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant, right? In the battles with what we think we are. Because that's not reality. It's mind grasping conditions that we take ourselves to be, right? I don't get into spiritual bullshit, but you understand what I'm saying. I don't know what else to call it, but self-investigation. But anyway, we got to move on to the next person. It's just I thought that was quite interesting. And then the moon opposite the rising sign too. So you see navigating between attachments and finding your value through other people and the fulfillment, right, of your life, which is building a confident, powerful, integrated self. Excuse me. Your temper also can probably hurt you. And not even just the temper, the reaction. We react so quickly that we're unconscious of it. Anyway, we love you, Tim.
We love you, Tim. Thank you for coming.
I didn't realize you made him come.
Well, I often have that effect on, the cis men, but
I'm
we'll leave
sorry.
it to ourselves here. Shh.
I thought you made him attend the event, is what I was saying.
It could be a possibility, I might have that draw.
What is the next person's information?
Okay, so the next person we have is Mandy G.
Mandy G.
And
What?
she's like 5 miles away from me. Her hometown is in Cincinnati.
I what? I need date time city. Date
Okay,
time city.
5:09 a.m.
I said date time city. Date
01,
time city.
01, 01,
Oh one
19,
19
1979,
1979. Okay.
5:09 a.m. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Ohio.
Well, Mandy knows it's nasty there. She knows it smells really bad there.
Cincinnati.
Oh, oh, I gotta tell you something funny while you put this chart, while you put the chart in.
I don't know how to spell
Tim,
Cincinnati.
it's Cinci.
I hate solar fire. Why can't you just recognize it's CINCI, right?
Yes.
N
N
A
A
T T.
I.
It's asking me Cincinnati Commercial Hospital or Cincinnati General Hospital.
Just put Cincinnati General because that's closest to the center of Cincinnati.
See, that's why I was tripping out because it can't ask me the fucking hospital. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're asking me the fucking hospital?
On Solar Fire, shouldn't it come up as like Cincinnati, Hamilton County? Because Cincinnati, like the city of Cincinnati falls into many different counties. So
I think that's what I don't know. This is confusing to me. I fucking hate solar fire sometimes. It's just like they say it's user friendly and they have all kinds of wacky shit. Now, some of the things you need the counties for. So, those of you, when you post your shit and you tell me what county your city's in, I'm really happy because sometimes solar fire's like, well, there's Johnson City and Donkey County, and then there's Johnson City and Giraffe County. And it's like, what the fuck, yo? Anyway,
Tim just commented, nice Riz, Amber. Did you know that Riz was the most used word last year according to Merriam and Webster Dictionary? It
what
was the
the
most
fuck is
popular
Riz?
searched word last year.
What's Riz?
Riz is like pizzazz. Like you got that little sparkle or that extra power.
Sounds like
Like I
me.
made I made a good coffee at work, so I put my little pizzazz on it, my little razz. Like I got it working, kind of thing.
Who put
It's
the
a it's
Raz
a
in the
it's a new
razzmatazz?
generation thing.
It's a part in what?
It's a new generation thing.
I still look young, so that's what matters. I still look young. Who put the Raz in the razzmatazz?
Who put the Raz in the razzle dazzle?
Wow.
Well,
Mandy G. Let me share my fucking shit. Okay. We got a snatch
well,
rise.
Tim, that's what I meant. You know, I'm full of charisma. I'm a Leo sun and moon. What do you mean? I'm full of charisma.
What's Tim saying? What did he say?
Tim said it's slang for charisma, which is true, but still, it's kind of like the thing I described. I just didn't put charisma.
Tim is a very, he's got a very dis he's very intelligent. Let me put it that way.
He's a Gemini moon. He just wants to be right. Love you though.
No, but he's very intelligent. He's very
He is very intelligent. Gemini moons are very intelligent.
well, not always.
Yeah, the ones I've dated, absolutely. But this one seems like he's pretty well whipped into shape.
There's a lot of flaky Gemini moons and I know a lot of Gemini moons that just talk out of their behind. But Tim has Aquarius Mercury, and almost every Aquarius Mercury I know is brilliant.
If I'm not wrong, I believe Albert Einstein is an Aquarius Mercury. So,
I think you're
and a
right.
Pisces sun.
He is a Pisces sun, and I think he is an Aquarius Mercury. I think you're right. My little brother Rory is a literal genius, and he has Pisces Mercury. Dude, I'm worried about my fucking eyes, yo. I get these. Ugh.
Are you starting to get those spots again?
I'm getting those spots again, the floaters in my eye. One of my friends said it might be like the beginnings of cataracts, and you can't really do anything about it. But when I got an eye exam, they said I have perfect 20/20 vision. And I'm like, well, what about these spots, that don't go away? Oh, well, that's normal. It's like these bunches in your cornea that happen. And I'm like, an eye doctor who's like younger than you. And I
Was
don't,
he cute?
it was a her, and she was hot as
Did
she
you get her
was.
number?
Well, no, I didn't get her number.
Damn it.
But I met some other nice young ladies recently. Yeah.
Oh, we know.
I did, I did, I did. I met some new ladies. But I still am so torn. I'm so like stuck on this Leo rising. I mean, what I mean by torn is like just torn inside. Like I'm like, oh my God, this Leo rising. This Taurus sun with Leo rising and Virgo moon. How more specific? Oh my gosh.
We need to leave that to ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
We love you if you're watching.
Oh my God.
And if you're watching, please treat my bestie right.
Oh,
Ah,
oh my
ah.
God. Oh my goodness. But
Everyone,
anyway,
quick, let's put our hands on our chest like we're having a heart attack, like a true Leo. Ah,
let's see, when I see a Sag Venus, I think of a fun girl. I think of someone who gets
when
up
I
on
see a
stage.
Sag Venus, honey, especially conjoined to my Pluto, woo, that intimacy is hot.
Conjoined to Pluto.
Conjoined to my Pluto. Her Venus is conjoined to my
Oh,
Pluto.
to your Pluto. Oh, so
That's right.
oh yeah, you guys would make sparks, wouldn't you?
Me and Miss Mandy.
Well, her Venus is conjunct my Jupiter and Uranus. I'm just saying. Any
Ooh. And she's a Cap Sun and Mars, and they're conjoined. Miss Veal, thank you for donating. Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for also putting your info stuff down. I will most definitely, you are next priority. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get to that actually just in a sec. But see, she has Mars combust like I do. Oh
That's
shit.
right.
Oh wait, no. She has a well, would this be a Kazemi? Yeah, it would be a
Technically, I feel like, yeah, because they're within minutes apart of each other.
well, I mean, so Kazemi's technically 17 minutes, right? So, I mean, it's a little bit
That's
more.
13 minutes. That's 13
Oh, wait,
minutes.
no,
So,
it's
yeah.
13. Okay, cool. It's 13. I see. I suck at arithmetic. 44 to 54 is 10. And then, oh no, you suck at
Oh,
arithmetic too.
15, 15.
I'm like, what? You suck at arithmetic too. It's 15 minutes. So yeah, that's a Kazemi. See, I have Mars combust, which makes me a real fucking bitch. Like we're just aggressive, we're angry, and I have in the fifth house, so it's like super sexual. But you see, yours is Kazemi. There's more of an elegance to it. It's more, I mean, first of all, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, you see? So yours is, I mean, not just more elegant, but it's more directed. You're not as scattered and ADHD as me. You may have had issues with money and you may perhaps spend too much or whatever, but you also have a very resourceful type of mind and you might be able to, right, be able to produce very well. And maybe it doesn't necessarily have to do with your income, although Saturn rules your second house and is pretty elevated in your 10th house, which is pretty cool, right? To have the second house ruler in the 10th house, it can lead to good luck with money or career or um being able to have enough to sustain yourself. But when I see Mars in the second house too, I also think of someone who likes to spend money. right?
You know who else has Mars in the second house? Your girl. So I know you like to spend that chingle chingle, baby. I know it. I know.
Yeah. And she's got a Libra moon like me.
Oh, honey, I hope you're not wishy-washy.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
In my defense, you started it first, so
No, I called some other bitch wishy-washy, and then you thought that was hilarious.
I spit out my water because I was like, Jesus, you don't even know the poor girl. You're just gonna call her wishy-washy.
Poor girl. How and you said that was so mean. How is calling someone wishy-washy mean? That's not a big insult. Like, what do you want about?
No, that's right. I mean, it's not as bad as telling them like they stink or something.
I could have been like, fuck you, or something, that would
You're
have been.
codependent in your relationships. That would have been an insult.
No, I say that anyway too.
I
Most Libra moons do have codependency issues, to be quite honest. You know. See, Libra moons are typically very concerned about being liked and being accepted. And oftentimes we have people pleasing issues because we can sense the temperature in a room. We can often, because we're sensitive. Libra is a very sensitive type of air sign. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is very acutely aware of qualities.
know this better than anybody.
I hate when you fucking interrupt me, girl. I swear to God.
You can strangle me later.
No, I can't. You're in Kentucky and I'm in Colorado. How can I do?
Well, I'll be there next week.
Well,
It's
shit.
$67 for a plane ticket.
You should see the fucking snow here, yo. It's like a mountain outside. I swear to God, it's like a foot of goddamn snow outside. It's wild. But anyway, yeah, see, when you have Venus conjunct the ascendant, sometimes it can give people oily skin and sometimes have acne a little bit. I mean, Venus conjunct the ascendant is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like beauty is part of the makeup. But you see, Venus is oily in texture, according to ancient astrology. And we do see people with oily skin, right? I have Mars aspecting my ascendant and I have super dry skin. I have to moisturize ad nauseum. But we see people with Venus stuff in their ascendant often need you know, the acne wash or the salicylic acid or whatever the fuck it is.
Panoxyl.
You know, not saying that's necessarily you, it just is. I mean, it's a generalization. But you see, Libra moon in the 11th house can be very popular.
I also have moon in the 11th house, so
Yeah, and it can be a popular thing, It's also the audience, the 11th house. You see? The eclipses for her have been going between the 11th and the 5th house. So you see, this is an exciting phase in your life. This is where you start to come out of the darkness, the assimilation, the contemplation, the racking your brain, the isolation, the complicated stuff of the 12th and the 6th house. And hopefully you've started to learn to enjoy yourself again and to reconnect with people, how to have fun, how to be romantic, how to enjoy yourself.
oh, and another thing, she
What's that?
has Saturn in the ninth house just like you.
No, she doesn't.
Natally?
No. Are you looking at the chart?
Oh, this is the event chart. Sorry.
No. This is Mandy. She got Saturn in the 10th house in Virgo.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Jupiter. My fault. I had to zoom in a little bit. The lashes are making me blind.
Lashes gonna give you lashes. Like whiplashes. But Jupiter in the 9th house is what? It's typically someone who has a sense of faith. Someone who was asking the big questions as they were kids, like, what does it all mean? Why are we here? And they're typically people who can be, people of faith and believers and who seek after philosophy and trying to understand the world. But you see, I have Saturn in the ninth house, and people like me, we just want cold hard facts. And we're not satisfied with stuff like that. We call bullshit on anything spiritual. We call bullshit on beliefs. And it's very uncomfortable. It's a difficult way to live, you see, until you get over worrying about it and being attached to it. But Jupiter in the ninth house is very lovely. And it feels very, we like these sorts of people. We do, because they have a sense of optimism. They have a sense of purpose. They have a sense of destiny. They think like, I'm here for a reason. Meanwhile, I think everything is meaningless, But I've had a lot of friends with this placement, and one in particular who just has such conviction and such steadfast faith in something. But it can also lead to what? Fanaticism, and people who are so crystallized in their beliefs that they don't question anything. And questioning things is one of the most healthy things to do. Why is that? Because we don't see things as they are. And how do you know you don't see things as they are? Do just a couple simple optical illusions, and you'll know. But the more important thing is we see things through our psychological lenses. We see things through our identifications, right? Like, I'm this, I'm that. I'm Frankie, I'm Saturn girl, right? I say this shit all the time, but it's the same thing. So the point is you should question yourself. Now, with Saturn in the 10th house, it feels like we don't get life direction until later in life, because the 10th house is our life direction. And Saturn there delays all that. You see, we start to feel like we don't have a purpose or have a meaning, which is sort of ironic because Jupiter says differently. But it's sort of like, what do I do? What do I want to do? Like, what would be the best way to express these sorts of inner feelings? And maybe you have a rich inner life, but then you never knew how to express it. There's a lack of practicality, perhaps, or a sense of, I have a feeling about the way things are. I believe emphatically in this or that. I just don't know how to produce. I don't know how to make it real. I don't know what to do in the world to express that, right? Sort of a common theme. We think of these people as the late bloomers. And so the big thing oftentimes is, now we also see people who had expectations thrust on them by their parents. People whose parents had these expectations, like, oh, you're supposed to be this or you're supposed to be that. And then you can't fulfill those expectations, even if you want to. And there's a sense of guilt oftentimes, isn't there? I don't know if you have had this experience, but maybe other people with this placement have, who are watching. But a common thing is that you didn't fulfill what was expected of you from your parents. And so we get guilty until we realize that we're not that way. And we'll never be that way. And that's freedom, because they're not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to be who we are. And it's unfortunate when you're people like me who don't find that out, or don't do that till you're in almost 40 years old, But that's what Saturn does, is delay things. And you have Saturn retrograde like I do. And as I said earlier, that leads to people who don't know their boundaries and need to learn them. So now here you are. You've been going through a rough time because I just picked the 5 of Cups. I've just been playing with the tarot or shuffling the tarot cards this whole time, and I just pulled one for you. And it was disappointment. So you've been going through a rough patch, sweetheart. You've been going through a rough patch. But what's the outcome? You see? I got the 9 of Wands as the outcome. The 9 of Wands. 9. And you see homeboy, right? He's a little beat up and battered, He's among all these different reads here, but he's come through it. He's triumphed. You see, that's the courage we develop from difficult situations. It's the strength we develop from difficult situations. So obviously you've been going through one. And Saturn is going through your fourth house right now. So I imagine you're having difficult situations either with your parents, although your parents might not be with us anymore because you're my age, around my age. But if they are, they could be causing you strain and difficulty. And on top of that, you see, we have this sense of displacement with Saturn in the fourth house. We get issues with our living situation. We get difficulties with our past, our genealogy in some way, inheritances, disputes over those sorts of things, family strife. But you see, these things also, as we get into the last 10 degrees of Pisces, we start to see light at the end of the tunnel, and we start to understand that our situation is going to work out, right? Or we start to see new opportunities arise, either for living situations or resolutions of these sorts of conflicts, right? I don't know. I mean, sometimes no one owns land anymore, or very few people do. But we do see that in the fourth house. So challenges with that sort of thing. Either trying to get land or sell land, buy land. Sometimes we find out we were adopted, that our past was completely different than we thought it was. So there's lots of these sorts of things. But you're very charming. And the last thing I want to say too is that when I see Neptune conjunct the ascendant, I see people who have very flexible personalities. And you have to be careful because in the wrong hands, that can be manipulative. It could be people who are selfishly manipulative to get things from others, right? But it can also be a very good thing because it could be very adaptable people who can be very helpful in many different situations because they know how to adapt, right? But it depends on what? The motive, your motivation. What is it that's driving you? And that's the most important thing for any of us. Why do you do what you do? Even if you have selfish motive, it's okay because we all do. We're all selfish to a certain extent because we're identified with ourselves and our bodies. It's our reality for us. Don't be ashamed of it. Just be aware of it. And also be aware of when your motive is of a different quality. Sometimes you do have altruistic motives or more altruistic motives or good motives if we want to be reductive. Like you probably do care about people, Most Libra moons do, although we can be terrible sluts. I love attention. I love sex. I love touch. I love all it. So yeah, I'm a terrible slut. And it just is what it is. And unfortunately, people who I like are going to have to deal with it. But, and it is what it is. And if that's an issue with you, good. Now, you do have the moon loosely square Venus, as I do too. And this does also add to codependency issues because, I mean, it's a 6-degree orb. It's wide, but still it's interesting to me. It's because we feel there's a dissonance between how we relate to people and our sense of emotional security. And so we don't always feel comfortable in relationships. When we fall in love, we start thinking, oh my God, they're going to find someone better. They're going to find someone cuter, someone, smarter. Or I'm thinking about the stuff about me, but we feel like they're going to find someone better than us. And we get paranoid. And sometimes it makes us act out in stupid ways. Sometimes those of us with the Libra moon, oh wait, no, it's not square. I'm so sorry. Fuck. Ugh. They're not square. They're not square. I'm so sorry. I was mistaken. And I'm glad I caught myself. I'm glad I caught myself. because square signs would have been Libra and Capricorn, not fucking Sagittarius. I don't know why I thought that. I was just mislooking at it for a second. So please disregard all that stuff because that wasn't relevant to you.
I believe they make a sextile if I'm not wrong.
They don't because it's out of orb. They make a
Oh, okay.
sextile by sign, but the
Yes, sextile by sign.
in modern astrology, the orb for a sextile is like 2 degrees. But they make a
And
sextile by sign.
yes, and I don't mean to cut you off, but we have another donation.
Oh yeah.
Shauna King donated $20 and she also dropped her natal chart info. So whenever you're ready to move on, let's do so.
I'm ready.
All right. So since Shauna donated $20, I want to do her first. So her birthday is September 9th, 1983, the same year you were born in.
Yay!
Her birth time is 6:26 p.m. and her birth city is Franklin, Indiana. And just in case the county comes up, it's Johnson County.
Yes, it did. And yeah, we got to give her extra props.
Yes, thank you, Shauna, again for listing the specific county. That really means a lot.
It really helped. It really helped, Shauna. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that.
And then we also have Miss Colston in the building. So thank you for coming. We appreciate you always. And then I want to shout out Soul Seer 369. Thank you for coming. Hi to you too. Frankie's kind of busy, but I'm more than willing to be her second voice.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to eat dinner and do it at the same time. I know that's so rude, but I'm so hungry and I didn't eat anything all day. I've been working and it's been snowing. I'm sorry. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen. Share my screen, share my screen, share my screen.
Share my screen.
So we have a Pisces rising like Rory. My brother Rory's a Pisces rising. Pisces rising. The esoteric mantra for Pisces is, now, again, these esoteric mantras come from Alice Bailey's esoteric astrology. I have issues with theosophy and Alice Bailey and all that sort of stuff. But these are so brilliant. And they really illustrate the signs so well, in essence, to me. And the mantra for Pisces is, I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. Right? It's, we think of Pisces as a martyr, don't we, oftentimes? But
absolutely.
But when it comes to the rising sign, it's of a different order. It's about real martyrdom in a way. It's about people who are willing to give themselves in situations. There's a givingness about Pisces rising. You see, there's a sense of self-immolation or willing to sacrifice oneself. I'm not saying that's necessarily true of you, but that's something we often see. And at least that sort of capacity and the aspiration. Because the rising sign in esoteric astrology, and more importantly, even in ancient astrology, represented the soul, right? The life breath in that direction. And for Pisces, there's a certain degree of giving oneself to others. And what does that mean? It means service. And what does service mean? It means consciously and intelligently recognizing a need that you could fill, and not by inserting yourself into something like a fucking, like one of those new age martyrs, like, I do so much for you. I do everything for you and you don't appreciate it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's a personal attachment to things. This is about like, wow, okay, I see this. Yo, can I help you? I can do this. And people can say, no, leave me alone. Okay. Or they can say, yeah, help. And you can do it. And it's not necessarily about you getting a reward or any sort of accolades or anything or appreciation. It's that you saw a need and you could attend to it. That's what Pisces rising is ultimately about, you see. I mean, that's the more subjective dimension of it. It's about being able to give, but not from an empty cup necessarily, because you can't give from an empty cup. And that's what Pisces moons, or a different order of Pisces would tend to do. Give from an area they don't have. Whereas what we're trying to do with the Pisces rising is learn to give from the place of abundance. And what do I mean about that? I mean from that wellspring in yourself, that feeling of yourself that's not limited. That feeling of yourself beyond that's the feeling of yourself that isn't limited by thoughts and feelings and sensations. It's the awareness of your fundamental connection or interrelation with other life, with life in general, with other beings. It's that thing people want to call the soul. It's just, I hate that word because it's so limiting. But I'm talking about that sense of yourself that's not limited, if that makes any sense to you.
Can I stop you?
You just muted yourself.
No, can I stop you for a moment? Because she asked some questions. Shauna did. So her first question is that, do you see me getting a glow up? Will things get better for me astrologically?
Well, so first of all, the eclipses are oscillating between her 8th and 2nd house. So the focus of her life right now is going to be her money and her resources. Now, the eclipse coming up in April is going to be about your personal finances. And hopefully, this one will be a bit positive. It'll maybe be a rebirth in your career, or if you have a business, a small business, this will be like sort of a new impetus and all that, right? And that'll be a very positive thing for your finances. But then you see you get to October, and that'll be your 8th house. And when you're dealing with the 8th house eclipse, that oftentimes has to do with coping with loss. Oftentimes it's a financial loss, but it can also be an emotional one. You see? So I want you to be careful with your resources, because the 8th house is about managing typically other people's resources. We see death and debt and taxes come from there. And you notice you have your Pluto conjunct your moon in your 8th house too, right? So there already is an acute sense of loss from childhood, and we've had 3 fucking Pluto moons now, and we had like 4 last time. And I'm a Pluto moon also. So we already have this sense of loss from childhood. And you probably had the crazy mother like I did, or the abusive mother, or the whatever, But there's oftentimes a difficulty with how we approach emotion, because there's a lot of trauma. And what do we do in the 8th house? We store trauma in the 8th house, So these are things that you're dealing with. Now, I know I said I would talk about a little bit of what's coming up, but I want you to be aware of that context, that there's a lot of pain you carry around like fucking luggage, like in A Christmas Carol. And don't worry, Amber, we'll go on. Don't trip out. Like a Christmas.
No, I'm fine. I'm just listening.
Okay, good. And then like in A Christmas Carol, there's Jacob Marley, right? Who's got all the chains he's carrying behind him. And that's what I think about with this sort of thing. We're carrying these emotional chains behind us all the time. You see? But Saturn is going through your 1st house. I don't know what to tell you, sweetheart. This is a difficult fucking time, but it's also the most important time of your life. You have to appreciate the fruitfulness of this whole thing. You see, when Saturn went through my 1st house, this was very recently. Very recently. Saturn went into my 1st house at the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021. And I came out as trans during that. I was faced with the reality of myself, things that I'd never approached before, that I hadn't dealt with. This is the most exciting time. You have to appreciate this. You have to appreciate this for what it is. This is changing you. I mean, you could also lose weight, right? We can slim down when Saturn is in our first house. But we get faced with realities like death, mortality. We start to feel older. We start to age. You know, you're 40 like I am, aren't you? But it's not necessarily a morbid thing. You have to understand that you are going to die. You're going to die someday. We don't know when. There are techniques in astrology that can tell you the length of life and shit like that. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is you don't really know for sure. And you don't have a choice about where it's going to happen or when or who you're going to be with. But learning how to live is learning how to die. You can't live. You can't live if you're not aware that you could die each second. You're not going to live properly because what? I know people are afraid of death, but I guarantee you, you're more afraid of life. We're afraid to fucking live because we don't feel our death. We don't feel that we could die at any fucking moment, and you could. I could. Any of us could. You see? And we have to learn to feel the reality of that, to feel the reality of death, and not in a morbid way, but in a way that makes us appreciative of every fucking moment, Like, you know what I'm saying? Every moment is alive, and every moment is an opportunity to fucking live. And I'm saying that for myself because I didn't start doing it until recently. And so I'm just trying to impress upon you that amazing opportunity.
And
And
while not sometimes I need to hear it too, because I mean we have our thing here with astrology and whatnot, but as I live my normal life and go about my job and things like that, I do take little things for granted, like the way I steam milk onto a cappuccino. Like there's certain things like I don't take the time to appreciate, like the little things like that, like how I can make a latte look pretty, certain things like that. Like it's just the little things we all miss and we all choose not to see.
you're exactly right, Amber. And think about this. If you were to die right now, would you be satisfied with the last hour of your life that you lived? Would that be satisfying to you? Chances are not. And me too. And that whole idea challenges us, doesn't it? To put more fire and more intensity into the next moment, doesn't it? Because every moment is alive. And only death teaches us that. Now, this is important for someone who has Saturn going through the first house right now, you see? Because it's all about death and rebirth, isn't it? And I went through a death and a rebirth. You know what I did when I went through this transit? I went through I read about an exercise, right, that Ramana Maharshi did, where he imagined his own death because he was acutely terrified of death, of the idea of the cessation of consciousness. That's terrifying, isn't it? You've never known a time when you weren't here, have you? So he put himself through all that. And I sort of did a similar thing, but I don't think I was able to do it with the intensity he did. But I felt the sensation of my own death. And I had just this amazing catharsis. I had this epiphany. And there's more epiphanies to have. But I had a sensation and I had an awareness of who it is that dies. But that's another thing.
And then she asked one more question. Let me pull it up here.
Oh,
She
yeah.
said, "Do you see?" I don't know what she meant by this. She said, "Do you see my own gifted abilities in my own chart?" So I'm not sure what she meant by that.
Well, she probably means something like intelligence. And yeah, I mean, she's got Mercury in fucking Virgo, which is very intelligent typically. That's an exalted Mercury. Now, Mercury is retrograde, which makes it delays things. So the things of the fourth house are perhaps delayed, right? So, or turned a little bit backwards. So there may have been difficult issues with her father. And then it rules sorry. Oh, yeah, it rules Virgo. Sorry. And in the seventh house, you see. So, I mean, in the sun in the seventh house, too, there's the codependency issues. But what I wanted to get at was sort of more optimistic stuff that was going on. It's just that Saturn being in the first house is so important because she's going through a complete transformation in the experience of herself. She's going to experience herself in a whole new way. The hard part is if she has any chronic illness or physical issues, they're going to get really bad during this time. It's just the way it is. I have POTS. I had the worst POTS of my life when Saturn was going through my first house. So just be aware of that you're going to be physically sick a lot of the time.
Well, she just commented and said they just come back stronger.
No, for sure. But there's good things going on too. Jupiter's going through her third house. Like she's in a very creative and productive time in her life up until May, right? So this is very important because she could really produce a lot of good work. Like, especially if it has to do with communications or writing, speaking, art, things like that. Anything that has to do with expression. You see, you may even notice your siblings are having unusual luck or whatever. Now, Mars is going through your 11th house. So you just want to be aware of upsetting your friends and getting into fights with friends, and alienating yourself in some way. So just be aware of that. But Venus is going to go into your 11th house very soon too, on the 23rd. So right now, Venus is in your 10th house. And this is often harmony with your work situation or your employment or whatever. God, these spots in my eye are driving me nuts. Fuck. Anytime I look at a computer screen, I have 3 spots in my eyes that don't go away.
Which eye is it in?
I can't fucking tell. I got 2 eyes.
Is it more on your right side or your left side?
I guess more right. I don't know. It's both. I don't know. It's just annoying. What are you gonna do, right? And Mercury's been going through, retrograde Mercury was in the 10th house and now it's back in the 11th. So, there's good signs of this sort of stuff too. It's just when Mars is going through the 11th house, we tend to get into conflicts with our friends.
Such is life.
Anyway, we should probably go on to the next person, but this is just a really interesting time in your life, sweetheart. It's a really interesting time in your life. Jupiter's going to go into your 4th house, which if your parents are still alive, they might have some luck or whatever. But you may also get luck from them or from your past, or something to do with them, or an inheritance, or I don't know.
Shauna, I don't think the spot she's getting in her eyes can be fixed with blue-ray glasses. It's just something that happens.
No, they're called floaters. It's something that's in my eye,
Yeah, put on blue-ray glasses.
it has nothing to do with blue light glasses. Yeah. No, the spots are from, they could be cataracts, but you get these bunches in your cornea, you see?
Well, I know what you're talking about because when I was a kid, I wore glasses and I used to have that same problem. But the only reason I only started to notice it was when I would sit in front of the TV as a child, like really close to the TV. But anywho,
Yeah, I'm just seeing him a lot now. It's getting sort of.
Hi, Sophie. Thank you for joining. I'm sorry I haven't paid attention to the comments.
So let's
Thank
do
you.
another chart.
Thank you for joining. Shauna donated another $10. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Thank you.
She said psychic abilities in my natal chart was my question.
Oh, psychic abilities.
Well, you are a Pisces rising, so and that's ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter within itself is a lot of just that like religious kind of energy.
Well, I typically look for moon stuff. I typically look for moon stuff because that's the unconsciousness. I guess you got moon sextile Venus, it says. Oh, here we go. Moon sextile Neptune really close. That would be it.
Yeah, for sure. Anything with Neptune.
Well, moon Neptune. Like it's moon stuff specifically because the moon is like the unconscious nature. Neptune is all that, that lofty spiritual aspiration stuff, but you need to connect it to the unconscious.
So what about Mercury Neptune?
I don't know. I guess you could see that sort of stuff, but
Because I have Mercury opposite Neptune, and sometimes I'll get dreams of like things that'll happen like 6 months in advance, but it won't happen. It'll have the same scenery, just not like in the same situation. Does that make sense?
mhm.
But anyway, whenever you're ready for the next chart, let me know so we can get these donations out of the way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
And Shauna just commented, my abilities have always been there. They have gotten more stronger and stronger recently.
Cool. Very good.
Well, that could be Saturn getting ready to go over your sun as well.
Saturn going over her sun.
Is she a Pisces?
No,
Oh no, I'm sorry.
she's a Virgo.
Oh yeah, Saturn opposite sun. I mean, I could see some crazy dreams, but it just depends on what's going on with Neptune.
Well, Saturn will be in opposite her sun in some couple months or something.
My number one piece of advice to you, because I just survived a Saturn opposite sun. Please go to the dentist and take care of your teeth. That's my only advice for you. Please go to the dentist.
Saturn does have to do with the teeth.
And the bones in general, but please for the love of God, go to the doctor. I just want to make sure that you're in good health. And
Yes.
then next natal chart, Miss Veal, are you still here? I just want to make sure if we do the donation readings, I just want to make sure she's here. And we'll give her a second. You're welcome, Shauna. You're welcome for saying that.
Who am I putting in and what am I doing?
So Miss Veal, if you want to put her stuff in, she's not in the chat, but she still donated, so I still want to read her chart.
Ms. Veal, like the
Yeah.
cow?
Like ducks, like veal, like the duck. Yeah.
Duck? Oh my God, bitch. You did not just say duck. It's fucking baby cow.
Veal is?
Yes, it's not
I thought
duck.
veal, I thought veal was duck.
No, it's baby cow. I
Oh,
need to
perfect.
culture you.
Sorry, Miss Veal. I thought you were gone. Thank God you're here. Good. So she's here.
See, I was raised really bougie and Amber was raised in reality.
See, I was in the ghetto, poor, trash, roaches, bed bugs, mice kind of thing. Real nasty. So I'm humble.
And I'm a colonel's daughter, so I was raised in hoity-toity, upper-class military. You know, we had money, kind of. I mean, not when my parents got divorced,
You had more money than me, and that's all that matters.
Yes, exactly. And I went to private school and all that sort of stuff.
See, I went to public school.
No, she went to Hard Knocks.
Yeah, that's right.
She
The
went to,
ghetto.
but so we're like the odd couple.
So Sophie commented and said, "How do I donate?" So you can always donate through the stream. If you click on the lower right corner, there should be a dollar sign. You can donate there. And then Frankie's PayPal is paypal.me/Frank Fortunes Fool if you want to donate there as well, either or.
We typically have the graphic up, but we can't. I don't know how to do it with Zoom. So what's Ms. Veal's information?
Okay. So it's 0407. So she's an Aries. 1979. Her birth time is 12:42 a.m. And the city she was born in is Youngstown, Ohio.
Cool. Came right up. Ms. Veal.
Shauna just commented and said, "Oh my, I've been calling veal lamb." See, I'm not the only one that didn't know this.
It's
Thank you guys.
baby
I'm glad
cow.
you're stupid.
Lamb is lamb. You know what you call lamb? You call it lamb.
You call it lamb.
Everyone hates me. Everyone hates me.
No, it's okay. I'm being the chat right now. So guys, if you want me to embody you, I got you.
Yeah, she gives me shit, but only because I give her shit.
We
Yeah,
both give each other shit, but we have fun with one another. That's all that matters.
I love Leo moons. I've dated plenty of Leo moons. I tell
I've dated Gemini suns, and you're really the only person I like.
I feel you there. Oh yeah, you're Leo moon too. You're Leo new moon.
I mean, my niece, but nobody's gonna come over my niece. I love my little Gemini niece. She's so cute.
See, she's got a fifth house sun and Mars like me. They're not
Mhm.
conjunct, but they're co-present in the same sign. So you've got to be a very sexual person. I know you do. I know you have to be a thirsty lady. You must, because I know I am. The fifth house rules thirstiness, it rules pleasure, rules fun. And that's why,
Oh, sex, baby.
I mean, that's my preferred pastime, if you will. I do a lot of that.
I
However,
I
it's
will
not.
tell.
What's that?
Your secret is mine to keep.
Oh yeah, for sure. We keep lots of secrets around here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll always.
We're always so secretive. We hide everything here. I don't just tell everything that I do, which
Well,
no,
I have Saturn opposite Mars. We know I keep things a secret.
I literally keep nothing a secret. Unless you tell me to. If you tell me, hey, you know what, this is private, of course. I'm an astrologer. You have to keep things private.
But
But
you're all friend.
if it is, I'm an exhibitionist. If it's anything
That's
regarding me, you're gonna see.
that's the thing I say about Aquarius risings. They love to run around naked, and they would if they could.
I usually do when I'm by myself.
When I'm not on FaceTime with you.
Well, anyway, the fifth house, though, isn't just all the sexual stuff. It's fun in general. It's learning how to be childlike. But the thing about the fifth house, even though it's childlike, there's a loss of innocence associated with it. I always talk about J.R.R. Tolkien because I'm a Lord of the Rings fucking nerd, right? I was one of those little bitches that grew up on that shit. Like, I don't know if you remember, there was a character, Eowyn, and she dresses as a man to go into battle. And then, one of the demons comes after her. And he's like, no man can hurt me. And she's like, I'm not a man. Fuck you. And that's how I always felt. Like, I'm not a man. Fuck you. But anyway, you see, the whole point of that is that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote these stories that a lot of them were intended for children. They were about fantasy, other worlds, you know? And there were very interesting morals and themes in there. But where did they come out of? This motherfucker was in World War One. You don't understand World War One. I don't understand World War One. It was unparalleled carnage. J.R.R. Tolkien saw his friends literally drowning in mud. Drowning in mud at the Battle of the Somme. Mowed down by machine guns. Human remains, limbs, body parts, organs strewn about everywhere. Can you imagine that? That's an extreme case. But what I'm getting at with all that is that we, despite our childlike nature, typically have this wound, this loss of innocence that is indescribable. And yet, you know what it does? It makes us value and treasure the preciousness and the rarity of innocence and being childlike. Hopefully, as we get older, as you get older, you feel that childlike part of yourself more and more. You see? Now, you have your Saturn in the 10th house, like that other person did. And so you probably do have a wound around not fulfilling expectations or not having a life direction in a way, or feeling that you have your proper direction. But it doesn't matter what you do, it's how you do it, you see. It's the livingness that you bring to anything. Nothing that you do is right, and nothing that you do is necessarily wrong unless it hurts somebody. But the whole life motif here, especially after age 38, as you approach your 40s, well, you're already there in your 40s, but it's about recognition. It's about your life direction. And that's the interesting thing about having Saturn and the North Node in the 10th house, is that your experiences of being a late bloomer or someone that doesn't know what you want to do or know which way you want to go. So then instead, right, we feel guilty about it, or we feel stunted, and we feel ashamed of ourselves that we aren't more ambitious, or we aren't more certain or directed in a particular way. But the North Node there pulls you like a magnet in that direction more and more as you get older, you see, and you won't have so much resistance towards it because it's going to be compelling. It's going to be magnetized. It's going to pull you along like a fishing lure, you see. You have moon in the 9th house and it's trine your sun. So you're a gibbous moon, more or less like me. It's usually optimistic and forward thinking. You know, we have a lot of ideas. We have a vision for the future. We just don't always bring it into manifestation. We have big ideas, but we're not always the biggest doers. Well, you see, moon in the 9th house was asking the big questions as a child. You know, who am I? Why am I here? What does all this stuff mean? I have my moon in the 9th house, you see. Makes us sort of spiritual or pious children, kids that are seeking a deeper experience or a hidden meaning. And most kids have the explicit experience, right, of a finer quality of reality because they haven't been so conditioned yet. But other kids have sort of a deeper experience of that too, or are more sort of inclined in that direction. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. It's just my experience, you see. Now, and you have some happy planets and some very angry planets. You know, Jupiter's exalted in Pisces. Venus is exalted in, Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Mars rules Aries, and the sun is exalted in Aries, you see. So you do have some happy planets. The one that's angry is Mercury, or not happy, rather. Now that'll make it difficult with your career situation. It can lead to, you know, bad reputation stuff or public disgraces occasionally. I don't mean like, you know, a public disgrace like, you know, Russell Brand, but it could be a loss of face sometimes. God, these things in my eye really bug me. Ugh. These really bug me. Now you have Neptune conjunct your ascendant too, like one of the other people. And like I said, it's the shape of water in a way. It takes the shape of whatever situation it finds itself in. Now the problem is it can be very manipulative or motivated in a different way. It can be very adaptable and helpful in many different contexts. So Jupiter's going through your 6th house. So between now and the end of May, this is a wonderful time to try and get yourself in order. Like try and bring yourself a sense of healthy routine, to take responsibility for things, to start picking up the pieces of things you haven't done. Take responsibility for things you've avoided. Make lists, take care of chores, do things that you've been putting off.
Yeah,
And on the
stop
other,
that you need to get done.
well, and also, right, the 6th house has to do with health, doesn't it? And
That's right.
and illnesses and stuff. So when Jupiter goes through there, it prompts us to do what? To work on our nutrition, to work on things like sleep. Sleep and nutrition are the most important, and then exercise, getting some sort of physical activity, because the 6th house, right, is all the stuff that falls apart when we don't take
Care of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right, Amber.
The last time Jupiter was transiting my 6th house in Pisces, I actually started losing weight. And, Jupiter's in Taurus now. I'm having my Jupiter return. And I've lost, almost over 100 pounds, like 111 pounds.
That's amazing.
So with Jupiter in the 6th house, if you really put your mind to it, those pounds will start coming off.
Yeah, and don't even worry so much about losing weight, just being healthy.
Even if that means the coffee you drink in the morning, you change it from 2% to, oat milk, little things like that.
Everything. Soda is terrible for you. Stay away from fucking soda pop. Amber.
I only drink soda with my alcohol.
And you know what? Girls in the Midwest, they drink fucking Mountain Dew like it's going out of style. Every Midwest girlfriend I've had has like a fucking IV drip of Mountain Dew to their shit.
Mine would most definitely be cherry Coke, but that's fair.
No, but you're in Kentucky. You understand. Girls from Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois.
Oh, honey, I've met girls in Indiana. I know what they drink. They don't drink no water. I know their pH is off.
Yeah, they drink fucking Mountain Dew and Jägermeister
all day.
I date me the gutter girls. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's mean. But I shouldn't say that. But anyway, so that's something that with Neptune conjunct the ascendant, Now, Venus is going through your 1st house. And hopefully you've been enjoying this time, because it's your time to sparkle. It's your time to shine. It's where we start to feel more sexy. We feel more desirable, Oh, but Jupiter's going to go into your 7th house starting at the end of May. And so that's very important, because you could see yourself either reconciling relationships or meeting someone new, or embarking into a whole new phase of, if you're in a committed relationship, over the next year, you could see things really blossom and get more committed, So when Jupiter goes through your 7th house like this, it's pretty cool. You could meet new people or deepen a current relationship.
Which is so fun, right? Especially in Gemini. That means multiple people. Screw one person. Have multiple people. Have as many people as you want.
I mean, that's what I have. I need at least like 3 partners. I'm serious. I do.
No, I know, but I'm telling her to just go nuts, have fun,
Oh yeah.
enjoy your life, and make sure you're open to other people, and don't shut yourself away from connections because this is a really important time for you.
I mean, I'm very interested in one person in particular, but I need three partners. I need sex every day.
Well, we already know how I am, but we won't disclose that on the internet.
Well, maybe Miss Veal is pretty similar to me if she's got Mars and the Sun in the fifth house. So,
Oh yeah, I do need to check the comments. Thank you for letting me know that.
and we have to do someone else's chart, I believe.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, let me know.
I'm ready. I'm just taking a bite of my pasta.
So Miss Veal commented, I've recently lost a bunch of weight without trying. No pop. See, when I started losing weight, I did the same thing. I cut out white bread and no pop. And that's how I lost all of my weight. And then I would do fast, like 12-hour fast or like 15-hour fast. And then she commented, Midwest MTD girls also love NASCAR. No, I mean, the girls I came across that live in Indiana really don't like NASCAR unless they have like a boyfriend who works on cars, unless he's that kind of person. But yeah,
No, my ex-girlfriend from Indiana, she used to work on RVs.
shut up.
No, for real. She used to work on RV. Like she used to help inspect RVs and shit. And she was like a little person. She was literally 4'9".
Also, she was a midget.
No, we don't use that word. We say little person. But yeah, she was technically one of those. She was technically a little person. And so they used to shove her in like into these little spaces in the RV.
That's so bad.
I know.
That's so bad.
And I was so in love with her. I was so like head over. I thought I was gonna marry her. And
Frankie, I swear to God, you're in love with everybody.
oh, shut up. No, but she just wasn't very nice, and it didn't work out. So no, it didn't work out because guess what happens? You get self-respect, and self stuff changes. You see.
Well, the people's natal charts I've written down, I don't see them here. I'm going to give a shout out to the live chat. Is there anybody's chart that I've missed before we close for the night? Like if Sophie wants to drop her chart, she can. If anybody else wants to drop their stuff, we can. Oh, Sophie donated. I'm so sorry. I didn't even see that. Thank you for your donation, Sophie.
Well, let's do Sophie. Shoot.
I know. Whenever she comments it, I'll bring it up. She said, and then Shauna commented, I'm here in Indiana. Girls do love Mountain Dew and NASCAR. Jesus.
Oh, for sure. No, I know. Yeah, no, mine, mine was South Bend. Well, Mishawaka, same fucking thing. It just sucks when you're so in love and then someone ends up being not very cool.
Yes, Sophie, I would love to give you a try. Please comment your birth info stuff because you're the only person that seems to be here. If I missed anybody or I have anybody's stuff down, please don't hesitate to tell me.
Yeah,
Because if
but
Sophie is the last one, then that's just going to be the last one for the night.
oh wait, did I see the chat?
Can you see the chat?
Yeah, the Mishawaka girls. Oh shit. The Mishawaka girls. I know, I was so head over heels for a Mishawaka girl. And then turns out she was not very cool. Fucking Mountain Dew drip. She's always like, get me a case of Mountain Dew.
I just thought of a funny joke. You ready?
No.
In Indiana, they give you gross. Don't do that. In Indiana, they give you IV drips of Mountain Dew. In Kentucky, they give you IV drips of chicken grease. It's just a joke. I thought it was funny.
So
Okay,
anyway,
so Sophie commented her birth stuff. So whenever you're ready, let me know.
I'm ready.
All right, so her birthday is March 21st, 1986. And I just want to say thank you, Sophie, for putting that in order. 12:30 p.m. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Oh,
Edmonton.
Canada.
Oh, Canada,
Canada.
our home and native land. True patriot love, and all thy sons command. With glowing hearts and gleaming eyes, we stand admiring something, oh
You
Canada.
got the 12:30 p.m. right.
Let me share my screen.
Yay. Okay. I just want to make sure before I go back to Zoom. Perfect.
Are we good?
Perfect. We are perfect. We are good. We are good. We are good in the astrology neighborhood.
We have Cancer rising. What?
Oh my goodness, all these water risings today. It's touching my little water Mars.
What? All these Leo fucking moons, and then Moon square
I
Pluto.
want all of
Yeah.
you as clients. Just come to me, please. I want to take care of you.
Moon square Pluto. Again, that's mama trauma.
I know, baby. Can I give you a hug, please, Lord?
And oftentimes, again, very volatile emotions too, you know?
Yeah.
Up and down, and not in a fun way.
I mean, I even see that apply to lovers too. Moon opposite Pluto. I mean, when I see that in someone's chart, I've seen it just with clients that have experienced a lot of cheating or a lot of infidelity in relationships.
Well, what I experience a lot with it and see with clients especially is how attached people get in relationships and the obsession factor. And that can lead to all sorts of toxic behavior too, because
Mhm.
we feel a sense of ownership over people. You see, we feel a sense of ownership over our partners. And just like the song said, you don't own me.
I love Halsey.
No, that's not Halsey.
Halsey made a song that says you, and it's called "You Don't Own Me."
She took that from, I know, you don't own me. Don't say that I can't go out with other boys. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. Don't tell me what to say. Don't tell me what to do. And when, oh no. Anyway, I got it wrong. When I go out with you, don't put me on display. Wait, who was that? I want to say that was You Don't Own Me. Who did that? Leslie Gore. Leslie Gore.
What year did the song come out?
I don't know, 1970, fuck you. I don't know.
1970. Fuck you. When I was swimming in my daddy's testicles.
I don't know. I don't even know if that sperm was ready yet.
My daddy was 21. I mean, I'm the youngest of 10, Frankie. What do you expect?
I bet
I'm
when
his last.
I bet he was shooting that sperm out somewhere.
I mean, he's a Scorpio. What do you expect?
Um, anyway. But we do see that sort of thing with Pluto moon things. She's got Uranus conjunct Mars. I have Uranus opposite Mars. People can't tell this bitch what to say.
I have Uranus square Mars, so we're rebels. I know it.
I'm a loner, Dottie. I'm a rebel. That was Peter. No, Pee Wee Herman. Oh my
Sophie
gosh.
commented and said, yes, it's been an issue in my past for sure.
What's been
Well,
an
see,
issue?
the thing is, you take up for yourself, though. You may be seen as someone who's a rebel or someone who, is outside of the box or different or unique. Own that shit. Be different. Stand out from other people. You know what I mean? Own who you are.
What's she talking about?
Well, we were talking about the Mars Uranus thing, and I think that's what she was commenting to. She said, "Yes, it's been an issue in my past for sure."
Well, I mean, the issue is that it's hard to get along with other people, and you have to cooperate with others. But I mean, the good thing about it is hopefully you don't take shit from anyone, you know, and it makes you very independent. But yeah, the difficult thing is when it disrupts your relationships or disrupts your success because you end up thwarting your own success because you can't play nice with anybody. You see, I had the same issue. I can't play nice with anyone. I never collaborate with anyone. And this is like the first time I'm collaborating with someone, Amber, and only her because she's
I
already
don't know what I did. I don't know what I did to earn her trust. I just think that, it's the Mercury Saturn thing we have going on. But
yeah, this is very rare. And I'm
but
seeing
Frankie is very intolerant of other people. So
intolerant. In
intolerant, intolerant, lack of
intolerant isn't a
tolerance,
word. It's not a word. It's not.
lack of tolerance towards others.
Yeah, that's intolerant. The other one's not a word. It's not an English word.
But anywho, back to the chart.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Let's talk.
Mars isn't happy, is she? I mean, sorry, Venus isn't happy, is she?
No, she's not.
So Venus rules the fourth house. So I wonder if dad was not around and more interested in his shit and his business or his importance or whatever than being a good dad. That's what I would wonder. And Venus is also relatively trine Uranus. So that tells me a healthy sense of kink or polyamory or, interesting sexual behavior, or unusual sexual behavior or relationship styles. So Pisces Mercury, it's so funny. Now, ninth house Mercury and Jupiter, this is someone who's very spiritual and mystically minded and probably interested in astrology, and philosophy and all that sort of shit. But Mercury retrograde in Pisces is like putting Vaseline on the lens of a video camera. Like everything's distorted. It's like, remember those magic eye posters from the fucking 90s where you're supposed to stare
Oh my
at this?
God, I know what you're talking about, where it like distorts and goes into like different patterns. Oh my God, you
Where
just
you're,
opened up a childhood memory for me.
well, and like you're supposed to see a 3D image like after a while, right?
And then you turn it to the side, it shows a 3D image. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but until you see that fucking thing, it looks like a bunch of bullshit, doesn't it? It looks like a bunch of static. And that's what Pisces Mercury is sort of like. Like there is an underlying logic and an image to what they're trying to convey, but it comes out like a bunch of diarrhea. But they can see clearly in their heads, like they have very good capacity for visualization. And they can see images about what they want to say, you see. But the difficulty is in the expressing it. That's the hard part. The sun is exalted, though, and the sun rules the second house and is in the 10th house. So I wonder if there's a certain degree of.
And your sun trines my Mercury. How fun.
Well, you guys should date. Fuck.
Oh, her Venus trines my sun too. Message me, Sophie. But anywho, North Node in the 11th house. So she has the same thing I have.
What does that mean to you?
When I see North Node in the 11th house, it's to me, and the way I translate it is breaking away and making your own family or your own, a cold or following or things like that. Or even like how you talk to me about being a bigger part of society as you get older. Seeing as Sophie was born in 1986, I wonder if she's a part of any kind of, you know, like religion, or she belongs to an occult or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's be very like specific about what we mean. So the occult is the study of what's hidden. A cult is a group that's collected around a particular person or dogma. That's a different thing. But the occult is about understanding what's hidden. And yeah, that could be a thing. But the North Node in the 11th house, just like you were saying, Amber, has a lot to do with idealism and commitment to a cause or commitment to a certain hope or vision or ideation. It also has to do to commitment with friends or like-minded people or groups or whatever.
And
So,
however it looks to that person, it may not be specifically a society or, and whatnot.
right, it's being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Self.
That's what it is. Definitely, I agree with that. So there's that dimension of it all, but then Saturn in the 6th house often does what? It can give people chronic illness or health challenges or a sense of eternal opposition. Everything's very difficult and also monotonous. Everything feels tedious and meaninglessness. You see, oftentimes. And so a chore, or rather, everything feels like a chore, but the duty of Saturn in the 6th house is learning how to find meaning in things once again, and how to make things not necessarily pleasurable, but make things alive. And to recognize the rarity and the preciousness in the sense of livingness in all things, despite how mundane or maybe even painful as they can be. Because you have to understand, a lot of the philosophy behind astrology comes from Stoicism. And one of the Stoic ideas enunciated by the ancient astrologers, especially Vedic balance, is that you can't change your fate. It is what it is. But through the study of astrology, we come to be able to master ourselves, to take, the good with the sense of equanimity or a sense of not being attached so much, and to take the bad with the sense of steadfastness. You see? So it's learning. Astrology is not about learning to necessarily change your fate, but to accept and deal with whatever comes. It teaches us not to be so attached to results and outcomes. But we come to that after being attached very, very intensely to what? To results and outcomes. So anyway, Saturn in the 6th house is about learning to appreciate things and not get sucked into this idea of depression and monotony and meaninglessness.
Sophie commented and said, "Oh, yes. Oh, that's Saturn. Thank you. Thank you for sharing about finding meaning. That's just it. I've had a lot of setbacks."
Oh, good.
Well,
Well,
even Saturn in the 6th house, that's setbacks with a lot of things every day. Saturn is all about the challenges and the day-to-day responsibilities and things like that. So when you think about Saturn in general, think of it in that way. Especially with Saturn in Capricorn, like you could be responsible for, a lot of people, or you could have taken care of, elderly people when you were younger, certain things like that. Like even when I see Saturn in the 6th house, I could see people being, like elderly caretakers and things like that. But these are manifestations I've seen of Saturn in the 6th house.
Yeah, and remember, Saturn is in Sagittarius here, not Capricorn.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, you're right. My bad. I had to zoom in on the screen a little bit.
Did we already talk about Mars conjunct Uranus? Did I already talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Sophie, do you have any more questions before we move on? I just want to make sure I get everything that's across. So I'm just going to read through the comments. Um, she said you're 100% correct about my Mercury.
Yeah, but she's a very deep person, you see.
Oh yeah, well Pisces Mercury people in general tend to be very deep thinkers.
And in the ninth house, there's an interest in the hidden side of life and the mysterious side of things, and particularly in religion or spirituality.
Even Saturn in the sixth house is just, I mean, everyday struggles. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Sophie struggled with some issues with the bones. Just because Capricorn rules the bones. So even if it's the teeth or things like
Yeah,
that.
but she doesn't have it in Capricorn.
Oh, Sagittarius, my fault. So the feet, right?
No,
Oh, the booty.
no.
Oh, she commented Neptune and Cap. What's that about?
Oh, like these things are really not interesting. This is what I want to impress upon everyone. It really doesn't matter what fucking sign these outer planets are in individually. It matters in terms of greater cycles that have to do with nations and groups, right? Of people, collective things. The fact that you have Neptune and Capricorn is really not interesting. It's not. It situates you in time and space and history. What's interesting is having Neptune in the seventh house. And to be quite honest with you, that's not even that interesting to me. It's interesting to me if Neptune aspects particular things in your chart. So now Amber disagrees with me because she likes giving all this extra attention to outer planets in inconsequential places. But I just don't agree with that. I think it's a waste of fucking time. It doesn't have anything to do with you individually. I don't think the fact that Pluto is in Scorpio has anything to do with you individually, except the fact that it colors your generation. You see? But it doesn't make a big difference with you individually. Having Pluto in the fifth house is more interesting.
Well, let me dispute you on what you said because I mean, really, I pay attention to all certain things like that, but really, I pay attention to wherever these outer planets fall in someone's house.
Yeah.
So, for example, I have Neptune in the fifth house. So, I have a lot of illusions around relationships and things like that, things of that nature. But Mercury is also opposite my Neptune. So I could lie to, my potential spouses and partners, but, that's our secret, guys. Keep it to us.
I mean, I have Neptune in the 11th house. What's that? Idealism, isn't it?
Oh, Sophie just commented. She said, I have serious osteoarthritis.
Well, there's a chronic illness, isn't it?
There we go. Saturn in the sixth house in Capricorn. There's the bones. She said, yeah, makes sense 100%. See?
But having Mars in the sixth house too, because Mars rejoices in the sixth house. And so it sounds like, oh my gosh, illnesses. But it's also someone who can have the energy to take care of things. And someone who can get things done or have a diligence to take care of the tasks and the chores and the tedium of life. So, but the big thing is learning to have fun and to enjoy yourself. That's the big thing. That's what I would.
So one thing, do you have one more chart in you? It's our regular Miss Colston. So if you want to do one more chart,
Fine.
Fine. See, I love y'all. I work hard to make sure y'all stuff gets read. I force Frankie for y'all. You can bite me later.
Whatever. Okay, fine. Share my screen. Another Cancer rising. See, MZ Colston has. Is it MZ or Ms? I guess it's Ms.
I think it's Miss.
Because I keep thinking it's like, Dr. Dre or some shit.
MC.
But Saturn's going through the ninth house, which again has to do with the deconstruction of all the beliefs,
Yeah.
Now, I really wouldn't put a lot of credence into Pluto going into the eighth house a whole lot, but Pluto's going to be conjunct their ascendant. Their Venus, rather. And that's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. It's going to completely demolish how you relate to people, you see? It's going to be a sense of alienation all of a sudden. You have to figure out, once again, how you mediate between yourself and others. Because Venus is that whole sense of your social nature and your social life. And Pluto comes in and just kicks it all away and says, oh, you thought that was... No, not anymore. So it's something you have to be aware of, because this is about to completely change for you over the next month or two. Well, over the next year or two, really. Because Pluto's going to go back and forth over that spot several times. 4 or 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's a big deal for you. But on top of that, also in Pisces, that Saturn-Neptune conjunction is going to happen at the end of this year. That's another big deal, you see? As we said earlier, it's fantasy meets reality, but it's in your ninth house. So once again, everything you believe in is being ripped away. You've been sucked into some sort of nonsense fantasy, and you're going to become painfully aware of it at the end of this year. And unfortunately, it's going to feel uncomfortable when you realize you were full of shit. Sorry. It's sort of what it is. And you're having your Jupiter return in your 11th house. So there's a lot of optimism going on. Like you hopefully do get support and help from others. People who care about your success or want you to do well are going to intervene on a positive note. So that's quite important, you see. But then Jupiter's going to go into your 12th house at the end of May. And this is going to mark the beginning of a year of healing isolation and hopefully healthy introspection. Because this is all about healing, Sometimes you find a therapist or a mentor. When it's Jupiter, it's usually a male person, but it doesn't have to be. But someone who's got a sense of wisdom about them. So it's a great time to start focusing on healing and therapy, to be honest. So between May, the end of May, early June of this year, and the beginning of June next year, this is when you want to start making big positive strides in your mental health, in your sense of well-being. Sometimes it means facing destructive behavior, self-destructive behavior. So, and that also includes the facing hard truths of Saturn and Pisces. Now, Mars, on the other hand, is going through your seventh house. So, this could be a time of breakups. Could be a time where your relationships with your partner are especially strained. And you have to be very careful with your words around this time because our words can initiate breakups. Even though they might not seem like breakups now, they can be the roots or the seeds for breakups later. So it's just something we have to be aware of. And Venus is about to enter your seventh house, which hopefully should help with smoothing some of those things over. Anyway, what's up, girl?
What's up?
What's cracking? I think I'm done with this. Do we have another one, or are we good?
If you want to do another one, we can, but there's just, Sophie and Miss Colston was the only two people in the comments, and I just went back and checked about 5 seconds ago. So if you want to talk about you or I, we can. If not, doesn't matter to me.
We've gone for like 2 hours, 45 minutes now. I think we're good.
Okay.
Because, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot, yo.
Well, thank you everyone for coming again. Thank you for the donations tonight.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you. Amber does too. And we really do actually care about each other behind the scenes. I'm not just being mean. Don't worry. Like, no actual feelings were hurt during the filming of this live stream.
No emotions were hurt from this Libra rising.
So,
and again, before you go, please like, sub, comment, and share the stream. It helps with the algorithm. And make sure you subscribe to the channel to get new posts from Frankie with content that I'm, working on behind the scenes. And there's going to be new uploads, maybe a podcast this year. And if you guys have any content ideas, don't hesitate to message me and Frankie. And if you want to donate to Frankie's PayPal, it's paypal.me/Frank Fortunes Fool. And the Patreon will be in the link. Any other messages from you, my love?
I think we're good. I think we're
Perfect.
wonderful. I just love everyone and I appreciate all your help and support.
Always. I'm here for you, always. And again, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I appreciate you so much. And I hope to hear from you guys soon. Book with us as well.
Yeah, you can go to my website, frankielynch.com, and you can message her. We should put your stuff in the description.